start thinking about building systems, training up people so that you don't have to be the guy with his
Yeah.
hands on a shovel every day. Because
Mm.
if your goal is to grow, you know, a business, then you've got to start thinking about those kinds of things so that you can make time to be able to care about your marketing and
Mm.
sales, learning sales, getting better at these things.
Welcome to the Sales Made Simple podcast. This podcast is dedicated to helping overwhelmed outdoor living professionals, landscapers, and hardscapers just like you increase your closing rate to over 75% without doubling your workload so you can build a seven-figure business that doesn't need you. I'm your host, Joshua Gillow. Let's dig in. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Sales Made Simple podcast. It's your host, Joshua Gillow. And today we have Nick Conley on from Tecton Growth. He's going to be walking us through. It's a little bit different for us listeners. I'm going to have this as a YouTube as well if you guys want to watch. But he's going to take us through a critical piece. Today he's going to focus on the Google My Business page. He's going to take us through step by step exactly what he looks for and how he helps companies, contracting companies, what he specializes in, update and optimize their Google My Business page, because if we can feed Google the food that it wants to eat, it tends to serve us up to their people that are looking, so we need to be making sure our businesses are very, very in tune with what it wants to see, Google that is, so that it can continue to push us out to everybody that we want to find us. So Nick, welcome back to the show.
Thanks for having me, Josh. It's a real honor to be here again, talking about this stuff that's really important, I think, for a lot of small businesses, but particularly contractors in this digital world in 2026 that we're in, right?
And it's, and you say that this digital world in 2026, and I'm telling you, even after almost 30 years in business, this still bends my mind what needs to be done for Google to find us. So when someone types in their keyboard,
Yeah.
backyard patio, that all of a sudden we're an option because, so often we become the best kept secret because we've got a great website, but nobody can find it. Right.
Yep.
It's like, well, I don't understand what's working. I got beautiful pictures. I pay good money for them. I've got somebody that's keeping up my website for me in the background. I'm out working nonstop, right? I'm trying to make the money. And then all of a sudden come wintertime, the phone stops ringing. I'm like, I need to do something in my marketing. Should I invest in SEO? Should I invest in, Facebook ads, Google ads? Like, should I put up a billboard? Like all these things to try to build awareness for the year. And we look back and say, holy crap, it's spring already, right? And we never get there. So anyway, I wanted to share some time with Nick here and get deep under the hood of exactly how what he does in Tecton Growth with all the contractors they works with. And I know a lot of them and they're very happy with his services. And I know there's a lot of marketing guys out there, listeners. And I don't know if you're like me. I've gone through so many marketing companies in the last 3 decades that I could write books on that alone of how many times I just take it. It's a big black hole for money. I throw 10, 50, whatever, $1,000 at this hole thinking maybe this is the one that's going to help and bring us to the table so we get found. And you know what happens? Every single time in 30 years, I regret that investment. Every single time, because you put all the money in, all the promises. Oh, it's only $1,000 a month. It's only $25,000. I can make this happen. And they make the thing happen, but I don't get the result that I'm after. At the end of the day, marketing is a result-driven thing. If you're getting results, you'll pay all day long for it. It's when you're not getting results and you're like, I still got to pay and I still don't have any leads that I can talk to, or I'm not getting more than I usually do. This is a huge, scam most of the time is what it feels like. So I met Nick a while ago and I know he's got his heart in the right place and I know he's doing great things for amazing contractors out there. That's why I want to get him on the show and kind of pull open that hood and look underneath and see exactly how he's doing what he's doing, getting the results that I keep hearing about. So Nick, I know today your goal is to talk about the Google My Business side. So I'm going to stop talking and let you take over here and walk us through a little bit about what Google My Business is for people who may or may not know. And then let's get into the nitty gritty of how we can make sure that ours is as healthy as possible so we can feed Google exactly what it wants so we can start telling more people about our businesses.
Nice. Well, for starters, it's now called the Google Business Profile. So if I say GBP, it's in reference to Google My Business's new name, which I can't remember when it changed, 5, 6, 8 years ago. And so you're dating yourself when you say Google Business.
I didn't say Yahoo or Yelp, so come on, give me some credit.
But and I still catch myself saying Google My Business as well, because it was like that for so many years. When I first started my landscape company, I started a Google My Business account. And
Yeah.
then, and now since it has changed to Google Business Profile. And
Thank you.
um, so basically, to answer the question, like, why is this important? Why should somebody keep listening for the rest of this time? Why is having a Google Business Profile important? And the shorter answer is that Google's king. Like, if you think about the last time, Josh, or our listener, the last time you searched for, any kind of service company, any kind of anything, 95% of you out there probably went to Google and typed in, you know, best Mexican restaurant near me. Or my wife uses Yelp a lot, but 98% of people still use Google. Google is king and it's not going anywhere. And so there are so many people going to Google. And when they type that in, what pops up is some ads and then this map section when you're looking for a local business. And the data from last year, that map section, 70+% of people click on one of those three businesses to call. And so that is a lot of people. If you think, I do some keyword searches and stuff like that to just see, how many searches are happening in different areas. And on average, there's thousands of searches happening every single month that I would confidently say, whoever's listening right now, on average, there's at least a couple thousand searches happening every single month for a search term that you would say, yes, I would want to be found for that. Your Google Business Profile is a way to capture that traffic to your business. And so many people don't focus on it and they're missing out on a ton of work. And so if what a lot of guys do is, well, I'm ranking number one, what I hear from a lot of people is I rank number one and I'm like, okay, well, where were you when you searched yourself? Right. Well, I was at my home or I was in my office. I'm like, okay, great. You better rank number one. Now drive down the road about 2 or 3 blocks and do that same search again. Then tell me where you rank. Because with Google, it matters where you're located. Google knows where, we have these computers in our pockets and
Mm.
Google, I'm holding my phone up for those of you that aren't watching. We have these small computers that we hold in our pockets and, we're tracked. So whatever you want to think about that, Google knows where you're at. And so if you think about it, like if you're looking for a coffee shop and you ask Google, I'm looking for a coffee shop, Google's going to show you the closest coffee shops, right? And so their algorithm is weighted on your where you are in relation to the place you're looking for. So if you're the person that searched your business in your office, of course you're going to rank number one because you're closest to your business. I mean, you're standing inside of your business. You better rank number one. That's not always the case. And if
Mm.
that's the case, you have some big problems. But the better test is to go when you're on the job site, wherever it is that you've been working, then search yourself and see, how your business ranks on Google. If you're not in that top three section, then you're missing out on a ton of work. But luckily, there's ways to fix that. And that's what we focus on here at Tecton Growth is to get you in that top three in as large of an area as Google will allow. And I say that because you get to a certain point where, like, for instance, I live in Northern California. There's a city of about 45,000 people, about 20 minutes south of me. There's like no one in between me and it. There's only 10,000 people where I'm at. I can rank in that city, but there's another city about 45 minutes even further south that has hundreds of thousands of people. I will never be able to rank from where I currently am in that city on the map section because there's just too much competition down there. There's too many other people for Google to show. Like if you think about um, if you ask Google where a good coffee shop is, Google's not going to show you a really good coffee shop 3 hours away, right?
Mm.
It's going to show you the best coffee shop that's in a reasonable distance. And how large that reasonable distance is up to Google. And so
Mm.
there's ways that I can guess and see roughly how far I think you can maybe rank, but at the end of the day, it's just a matter of trying to get trying to see how far we can go and then letting Google do its thing. And
Got it.
so that was a longer answer, but why we focus on it is because there are thousands of people searching every single month for a service that you would want to be found for. And if you're not in that top 3 of the map section, you're missing out on a ton of work.
Have you noticed any shifts in people going? I used to go to Google for everything, and then this little experiment called ChatGPT came out. And the next thing you know, I find myself going there to search things. I did for a while, probably a good year. I would go there to search just about everything. And in the beginning, it seemed too easy. And I was like, wait a minute here. I can get a lot of good information from this place. And I know it's a completely different animal, but I say this because I shifted over to searching on chat for my daily use. But here's the problem. Chat's not always right. I was getting a lot of weird stuff and I was like, well, that's different. I've never seen that on Google before. And I'm like, there's a reason for that because chat's wrong. So I found myself going back to Google now because I feel much more confident in Google. And then they have the little chat bot underneath, the Gemini or whatever, that kicks up and gives you a synopsis or some ideas. So I like how they blended that. And I found myself, my own use when I'm looking is going from that Google to chat and now back to Google again. So have you noticed much of a shift in that? Because I know for a while we were focusing on how do we get found on chat, but that's, I know a
Right.
lot of guys were focusing on that. Is that still relevant, or is Google now strong arming the world and saying we're back?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's still relevant, but the reality is Google still owns the space, right?
Mm,
And so chat has taken some search from Google, but when it comes to like local search and what's relevant to our listeners here,
mm,
contractors and home service businesses, Google is still the king there, and chat
mm,
and Perplexity and Gemini. People haven't, there's just, they haven't taken enough yet, but they've taken enough where you do want to kind of care about it and you don't want
mm,
to just sleep on it. And so what we focus on here, I call it, there's in the SEO world, there's so many arguments about what SEO is. How do you rank on ChatGPT? How do you rank in all these large language models? What do you call it? All these special things. And it's my opinion that just doing good SEO, focusing on Google, focusing on your website, doing all of the things that you should be doing and not trying to cut corners with just a couple tweaks here and there. We have clients I just had a client sign a $45,000 project from someone who found them on Perplexity.
mm,
And we just we're not selling an AEO, like answer engine optimization. We're not trying to like sell these shortcuts or anything. We're just doing good quality, not try to cut corners, just do everything right. And when you do that, all these algorithms like that. But with that, there's all these caveats that as we talk, I'm going to try to like bring up. But with that, we can only do so much. What's really important, especially moving into 2026, is going to be businesses getting reviews from their clients. Like that is going to be huge, and not just on Google, but also on like Facebook, on Yelp, and all these other platforms, because the algorithms now are going to go out into the interwebs and look and see who's ranking well. How are other people talking about the businesses,
mm.
because they're going to put a lot more weight on someone else's reference of a business as opposed to what the business is saying about themselves
Of
online,
course.
right? So the business needs to say, the business needs to prove itself with what they say and what they talk about with
Mm.
their services and stuff like that. But then it needs to be backed up with actual client testimonials and stuff like that. So that's going to be huge moving into this year, and it's something that we're really putting a big focus on for our clients, is getting good reviews.
That's excellent, dude. So can you
Uh,
walk us through some of the things that you look at in the Google profile?
yeah, so with your Google Business Profile, a lot of guys have them. I mean, very rarely do I ever come across somebody who doesn't have one, but 90% of the time, 95% of the time when I'm looking and auditing somebody's Google Business page, there are all sorts of things that they are missing. And so we have a checklist that we give out to anybody of all the things that you need to focus on with your Google business page. And mainly it's making sure your business name, everything is written correctly, and it's exact matching your website and your Facebook page. Like, you don't want to have what says what your business name is on your website different than what's on Facebook and different than what's on Google business page. And I see that a lot. So you want to make sure that's coherent across everything. You want to have good photos on there, and you want to be adding photos consistently every single month.
Okay.
Just posting, 5 to 10 photos every single month. Do photos of you and your crew's working. Do photos of your trucks. Do photos of the job sites in progress. Like, they don't have to be these perfect finished jobs. Like, make it look like you're a real business actually doing work.
So you're saying engagement is more important than perfection there, just engaging that platform. And guys, remember, listeners, the Google business profile is embedded in Google. Google created it. So when you use their tools, I believe you're I don't know, given awards for that. Would that be true?
I like it.
Yeah.
They haven't really come out and said that, but I would say if the more you use their tools like YouTube and stuff like that, and you're linking things together, um, if it's if they're down to comparing you versus a competitor and you're using all their stuff and the competitor is not, they're probably going to give you the cake on that one.
Yep. Awesome.
Yeah. So, I mean, yes, putting photos on consistently, getting reviews consistently, being active is important. And then in regards to photos, like, they don't have to be these pristine, finished projects. Yes, that helps, but also show, because think about a client who's going to go to your Google business page and they're going to click on your photos. Show all the beautiful stuff, but also show your crews. Maybe, have your crews looking nice, right? People care about those kinds of things. Have your trucks looking nice, maybe you have your wrapped truck and you have a photo of it. Then they're going to make this connection, like, oh, I've seen that. I've seen those trucks driving around town, and that, like, builds trust in the person, and now they might call you over a competitor because they've made the connection of this business I'm looking at online, and, oh, I've seen their trucks around town. And that just builds trust, as opposed to, I've never heard of this business, I've never seen their trucks around town, right? There's not as much trust built there. So have those kinds of pictures on there. The second thing is, on your Google business page, Google has categories. So with a lot of our clients, we work with hardscapers. Unfortunately, there's no hardscaper category. There's only a landscaper category and a landscape designer category. And so Google, you have to choose from what Google gives you when it comes to categories. So for a lot of our hardscape design build guys, we usually categorize their business under landscape designer because they're offering a lot of designs for their outdoor living projects. So picking the right primary category is important. And so if you're more softscape, lawn care, not so much design oriented, less of the outdoor living stuff and more of the typical landscaper stuff, then you want to use landscaper as your primary category. But if you're more on the outdoor living side, doing more design build type stuff, then you would want to choose landscape designer as your primary category. Then you can set secondary categories. You could select up to 9, I believe, different categories, but choosing the correct primary and then adding relevant secondary, you can have up to 9. Most guys only have like maybe 1 or 2 in there. There's a landscape lighting designer in there. Masonry contractor is one. We use that for some of our hardscape guys that do a lot of stone work.
Yeah, because Google's ultimately what it's trying to do is someone types in a search query, landscape designer, and Google says, oh, I've got a guy that matches that criteria perfectly right here. And he's in your area. Here you go. Talk to this guy. That's ultimately what it's trying to do. Am I correct?
Yep, exactly.
So the words matching is important based on the keywords that your clients are actually putting in. So now that, we need to figure out what they're typing in. What are their queries? What are they looking for? Because I know for years, dude, the word landscaper, I know a lot of guys don't have a problem with it, but I've had a problem with it because we've been design managed for a long time, design build for even longer. And it's like landscaping is a part of what we do, right? It's the icing on the cake, but it's not the cake. So landscapers, a lot of times those guys are trimming bushes and mowing lawns, and that's what in the client's thinking process, they kind of lumped everything into one. And I'm like, we're outdoor living. We're outdoor living designers. We're outdoor living design build. Like, and we want to stand on our soapbox and say that. But here's the problem that I found, and Nick, you can back me up or tell me I'm wrong, is if we want to put in there some fancy verbiage like outdoor living specialist, or
Mhm.
something in our H1s or not like our categories, which don't exist, but having our words in there because that's what we
Yeah,
want and that's what we want to be seen as. And Google says Mrs. Jones has 100 grand and she wants to buy a landscape or, a landscape designer because that's what she would look for.
mhm.
And you don't come up at all because yours says outdoor living specialist and she looked for landscape designer. And that's
Yeah,
a struggle that I've had because I'm not a landscaper. We're outdoor living specialists. And
yeah,
I'm talking about my own battle with this. And I'm like, why don't people just know what outdoor living specialists are? Because that's what I want my website to say. And that's what I want it to. So I'm like,
right,
that's a lot of ego going on there, bro. To myself, I'm talking, right? That's a
yeah,
lot of ego going on. I'm like, what does Google need to see based on what Mrs. Jones is typing in, not what Joshua wants the world to see?
exactly. Let your photos do the talking. Let the words and all this other stuff talk for Google and get Google to show you to the right people, right?
Yeah.
And that's what I tell guys, like, let your photos do the talking. So if somebody was to type in, I'm looking for a landscaper, because you go down the street and you show someone a photo of a big, beautiful backyard project and you ask them, who would you call to install this? 75% of the time, they're probably going to say a landscaper or a contractor or somebody,
Mhm.
right? Um, which contractor is another category that you can choose as well. And and so let's say somebody types in landscaper, they're not looking for that stuff. They're looking to get, a yard cleanup done, but then they land on your website and they see these beautiful six-figure projects. That's going to tell them, oh, maybe this guy doesn't do what I want. I'm going to call the next guy.
Mhm.
And so luckily for us, with the categories, with each category that you create, they all have services within them. So now there's another section. Once you choose your categories, you go and now you go to the service section of your Google business page. And this is the area that most guys, if they've chosen good categories, they haven't gone into the service section and actually optimized all of the services within each category. And so let's use landscape. Let's say landscape designer is your primary category. You go to the service section on your Google business profile, and for our YouTube people, I'll show it after we're done talking through it. But in that category, you can now, Google allows you to select services that are relevant within the category. Google gives you their own services the options they give you to select, but then you can also add your own custom ones. And so that's where we add like outdoor living designer.
Mhm.
We will add those other services just in hopes that, if they were to happen to stumble on that, because outdoor living and hardscaper, those are two terms that I'm seeing when I'm looking at keyword searches. I'm seeing those terms start to get searched more. And so I think people not in the industry are starting to use those terms when they're looking for that type of work to be done, which is a good thing. And hopefully one
Mhm.
day it'll turn into an actual category, but right now it's not. But we can make it a service. And so you're just adding, at the end of the day, what we're trying to do is prove to Google that we are the experts in our craft. And how you do that is, if I'm going to claim to be the best landscaper, then on my website and on my Google business page, I better talk about all of the things that are relevant, that are topically relevant about offering landscape services. If I just claim to be the best landscaper, but then I don't talk about, you know, paver patios and plants and irrigation and I don't have a bunch of other content backing that up, Google's never going to rank me, because Google wants to be all Google's trying to do is refer people to its clients. And
Mhm.
just like you or I wouldn't want to refer some hack, to one of our friends, neither does Google.
I love it.
Yeah. And so your services is a huge piece that I see a lot of guys missing, where they don't have them filled out. And then once you list your services out, each service, you can go and put a description in there. And so in that description, We talk about the service and where we provide it. So usually we pick like 3 locations depending on where each of our clients want to target. Some people live in the middle of Los Angeles, and we just use Los Angeles as the area.
Mhm.
But some people live Pennsylvania is a great example. There's so many little towns around, and
Mm.
so we just go, okay, let's pick the top 3. We'll use those 3 in all of those services descriptions. Um, and so by the time we're done, if we have 4 or 5 categories on a Google Business page, we're probably going to have 30 to 40 services listed out, and with a description on every single one. And that's where ChatGPT is really helpful, because you can just take a screenshot of all the services that you selected, put the picture into ChatGPT, say, write me a description, 300 characters or less for each of these services, targeting these 3 towns or whatever. And it'll write you all that, and then you just copy and paste and put it into those descriptions.
That makes it so simple with chat. Now,
Yeah.
does Google care if we're using AI to create those descriptions? Does it flag us for that, or does it not care?
No, as long as it's not terrible, like, just make it sound human. And all you have to do is, when you're prompting chat, I mean, it's better now, but all you got to do when you're prompting it is just maybe given an example of, you can even say, like, write it like Joshua Gillow,
Mm.
or write it as if you were Alex Harbozy, or whatever. But for those descriptions, it's only 300 characters. It's very short and sweet, and
Yeah,
so we don't worry about it at all.
got it. Okay. And does Google prefer to have actual towns in those descriptions, or can you use regions like northern Tennessee or southern Florida, or like what helps? Because I know if you put your address into Google, profile, that's important. But what if you're more of like you cover a huge area? Like, how does that
Yeah.
work with territory? Is there a better way to do that Google likes more?
So when it comes to local SEO and trying to rank your Google business profile, your Google My Business profile, you want to be very town specific, because, like I talked about earlier, the proximity of where you are matters a lot to be able to get your Google business profile ranked in the top 3. That's where all the traffic is going. Now, below the Google business profile is where all of the websites are listed. That is, unfortunately, down there, that's more of a national competition. So if you live in a bigger city right now, let's say, whatever, if you live in Chicago and
Mhm.
you go type in, best landscaper in Chicago, and you scroll past the map section and you look at the websites, you're probably going to see some national companies like Yelp, maybe the Better Business Bureau. Like, there are national companies going after that search term. That down there is where you can rank, you can target, you can go after different areas. So if you're a business and you're trying to go after a whole state, and there's like this town 4 hours away, without having a Google business page in that town, the only way you're going to get something ranked up there is by targeting that search term with a web page and getting it ranked, down in the organic section is what we call it. But essentially it's all the website listings below the
Mhm.
map section. So that's the only way you're going to rank, you know, outside of your area, is through that. And how to do that is a little bit different than what we're talking about in regards to your Google business page and stuff like that. That's more website, keyword focus, getting backlinks, stuff like that.
So is it possible with Google, if you had, say, you served your own hometown and the next place that you served was an hour away, to have two Google profiles, to have two
Yes.
of these business profiles and say, like, so that you can, but you have to live there? Or do you have to have an address? Like, how does that work?
Well, if Google's listening, yes, you can have a second address. You can open up a second location wherever you want.
Mm,
It has to be, but wherever that location is, it has to be like a manned location. So it
got it.
has to actually operate like a normal business would. Now, does that mean every single business actually does that and Google has people checking? No. There are lots of businesses that have multiple Google business pages, page listings, that have an address. They might have an office, and the office technically isn't open 24/7. Google not Google's not sending people out to double check that. However, they do say that that's one of the things that you need to have to be able to have that location there. But we know we have a few clients that have have two Google Business locations in a larger city outside of their primary area. There was a larger city an hour and a half away. They went, got a Google Business page over there, and now they're able to rank in the map section in that city. I know of another client or another friend of mine. He's got four. He has dominated his like 3 or 4 counties. He's got 4 different Google Business pages in
Hmm.
like 100-mile radius and is just dominating his local area. It's taken him 3 or 4 years to get there, but that's really the goal. He doesn't have any problems getting work. That's his main source of lead generation is having these Google Business pages. He's got a killer website that backs up what he says on Google. And then he runs ads and does all the other stuff that you should be doing, having your trucks wrapped, putting yard signs out, networking, meeting people. Like they do all
Hmm.
those things too, which I'll just put a caveat here. What we do, and I tell all of our clients that come in, what I do is I am not your only piece of marketing, you
Hmm.
know, that you should be doing. We're just a small piece of it. There's all sorts of stuff you also need to be doing in
Yeah.
your area. So I think a lot of guys, I was victim of this myself when I had my landscape company. When I hired my first marketing agency, I thought, cool, they're going to support my business, you know? And unfortunately they didn't. But was that their fault or was that my fault? Like
Hmm.
they didn't educate me. So I try to do that, but I think it was my fault for thinking I could just pass the buck to them. Right. And so I say that to everybody. What we do online is only a small piece of what you need to be doing with your business.
Well, it's a
There's
lot
so,
like investing, right? When
yeah,
you can't just be like, "Hey, I want to invest. I'm going to put everything in, whatever Apple," and that's it. No, you usually buy the market, right? You buy
yeah,
indexes, you do all that kind of stuff, and then if you're smart, you're diversifying out of that too. Precious
yeah,
metals, real estate, other businesses. You got to diversify. This isn't the only source of lead revenue, if you will. This has
yeah,
to be, diversified, but it's a very strong component. And if it's a 25% of your entire plan or strategy, then that's a strong piece. We got to make
yeah.
sure it stays strong.
This piece, my experience with this piece, with your Google business page and your website and everything that entails, um, the 25,000 you're going to spend a year on it can generate you a million plus.
Hmm.
And so it's going to be your highest ROI. The problem is that it just takes time to earn Google's trust. But once you have
Hmm.
it, then the sky's the limit. And it'll be the highest ROI piece that you can do for your business. And so it's a major piece, but
Yeah.
thinking it can be your only piece is irresponsible. And
And
I
what
can say that because I had that mindset at one point.
I have too. I'm like, sweet, well, just invest in this thing and I can go
Yeah.
back out and do what I want to do. I don't want to be sitting here in the computer pounding keys and trying to figure out
No,
what pictures to post and what to say and all
yeah.
that kind of crap. That's not my job. I'm here to build stuff and design stuff. So
Yeah.
yeah, I get that. And it's
Yeah.
a lot of times these marketing things are only looked at for a couple of months and then spring comes and we forget all about it until we're hungry for work again, right? So it's important to continue to invest time in these systems year round, not just wintertime.
Yeah. And for, business owners out there, one of my business coaches told me like the owner's job should be focused on sales and marketing. Right.
Mm.
And so if you don't have the time to do this, then you got to start thinking about building systems, training up people so that you don't have to be the guy with
Yeah.
his hand on a shovel every day.
Mm.
Because if your goal is to grow, you know, a business, then you've got to start thinking about those kinds of things so that you can make time to be able to care about your marketing and
Mm.
sales, learning sales, getting better at these things, hiring better people, so that it can free you up as the owner to be focused on this marketing and sales. And then that doesn't mean you do it yourself, but at least now you are part of a marketing team. So I tell my
Mm.
clients like I'm coming in as part of your team. Like, I'm not just this freelance guy that you're just going to pay and not talk to and hope that we change your whole business. Like, no, I'm a piece and we need to work together because I don't know your local market like you do, and there might be things that I can learn from you that can help me do my job better. For instance, we have a client that we were doing SEO for. Then we stopped. Long story short, we switched to doing some Facebook ads for him for a service that he didn't really prioritize a lot in the past, but he wanted to moving forward. And so we were talking and we realized, like, man, this could actually be a really good thing right now. I think people want this. Let's run a Facebook ad and see what happens. And sure enough, that ad popped off and he sold over $500,000 in 60 days. And
Wow,
so we
nice.
made that switch. And the only reason I would have made that switch with him or wouldn't have, the fact that we did it is because him and I talk and we
Mhm,
strategize because we're a
mhm.
team.
Yeah,
So that's
yeah,
how I
yeah,
view
yeah.
myself when we come into a business. Like, we're a team now. Let's talk and make
Mhm.
this work. Don't just hire me as your freelance SEO guy,
Yeah.
you know, because if you hire those guys, it's just that I think that's why a lot of people don't get the results because they just blindly pass it off to somebody and think they're going to get good results and then they don't, you know.
Yep. They wanna delegate. They read the books and they say, "Well, as a good owner, we should delegate things," and delegation looks like, "Hey, you take this." They got the hot
Yeah.
potato now, and I go back doing what I want. And there's an integration, there's a learning, there's a
Yeah.
nurturing that happens if it's gonna work, right? And what I love
Exactly.
about your heart, Nick, is and you've been this way from day one, is that, like, "Here's my strategy, guys. Go use it or hire me. That's totally
Yeah.
up to you. Whatever you wanna do." It's like, I love that you don't have, like, all these hidden things, like, "I'll show you the first 3 points, but you gotta pay me for the next 28 points," right? You're not like that. You're like, "Hey, here's what I do. Replicate it or hire me. I don't
Yeah.
care, but this is good stuff." I
Yeah.
appreciate that about you.
Yeah. Yeah. If you have the time to do all this stuff, great, do it. That's
Mhm.
how I learned. I mean, I did it.
Yeah.
I love this stuff. So when I had my business, that's what I focused on. I was the marketing guy. I hired some agencies. I had the wrong mindset while I was working with them. I'm like, man, you guys, I could do so much better. And so I
Exactly.
learned how to do it myself, you know,
Yeah, yeah.
and then I started helping other people and now I just absolutely love it.
It's amazing.
But yeah, I'm an open book. So if anyone ever wants to reach out and ask questions, I'm always available.
I love that. Hey, so what else do you have on your list for the Google profile?
Yep.
And, let's see what else you got, and if you wanna throw things up on the board, you can. If you wanna talk through them, that's cool too. I just wanna make sure listeners get the most out of this time.
Cool. Well, yeah, let me just share this page so people can see it when they're on YouTube and I'll just kind of talk through it. Um,
And guys, if you wanna see this interview on YouTube, just go to the show notes. You'll see the link there. Not
and
when you're driving, of
I
course.
can give you a link to this. This is a checklist that I just give out to anybody. So if you want it, you can just reach out. Um, so this is just basically our Google Business Page checklist
Okay.
to optimize your Google Business Page. So we talked about, your business name, profile picture. You can create a cover photo, and then optimizing your categories. Pick the right primary service, and then also add the secondary services.
Mhm.
Then under each category, the secondary categories. Then under each category, there's the services. And
Mm.
so there are services that you can select from that Google gives you, or you can add your own. So we talked about that. We talked about your business address. So there are two things for a business that goes to its clients and provides a service at the client's location. You technically need to be a service area business and what that means is you don't show your address on your Google business page. The problem with that is it is so hard to rank for that. I think it's something Google needs to fix because their algorithm is so weighted to businesses with a location. I use the coffee shop example. So many people who are going to Google Maps are trying to find a place to go visit, right?
Mhm.
And Google has said if you are not a business where that people can go visit, then you need to set your business to a local a service area business. Unfortunately, it's just really hard to rank. Not impossible, but it's really hard to get that bit to. It's really hard for you as a service area business to outrank someone with a location showing. Um, so that's relevant for so many people because a lot of us are running our businesses out of our home and we don't want to show our address, right?
Mhm.
Um, so what I tell guys is get over it.
Suck it up.
It's like I showed my address here. I never had anyone come knocking on my door. Now, I have some clients who people come, it's mostly people looking for jobs. They're coming to
Mm.
want to talk to you to look for a job.
You pay your bills though, right, Nick?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah,
If
so
you
pay your
don't, then
bill,
they'll put your address in.
don't do sketchy stuff, and it shouldn't be a problem.
Exactly.
But the reality is, if you care about the growth of your business and you want to be and you want to dominate the digital market when somebody searches for you and you want to show up, you just kind of have to do it. Um, And so there's other ways, there's other ideas. I tell clients like, hey, do you know if you're a landscaper, do you know a plumber or a roofer or somebody? Do you have a friend who's got a business, who actually has like a physical location business that maybe they can let you use a little room as like an office, to get a physical address there?
Mhm.
If that's the case, try that. If you're in larger, more urban cities, there are virtual office spaces or like these like business office commercial complexes. You can go get just this tiny hole in the wall office for less than $500 a month. Um, it's worth it. It'll be really good $500. That's how you get multiple Google business pages.
Okay.
Um, it's worth doing. So that's really important to have your address showing. Um, if your address is not showing right now and you want to change it, you're going to have to do a verification thing. That we could have a whole nother podcast on that. I have a document that shows you how to do that verification. You have to submit a video. You have to do
Mhm.
all these things. Um, if that's if anybody ever wants that, that's something I hand out to. Again, I'm not hiding anything. Um, so that's about the Google business address. You can create a short name. There's just all this other stuff that your Google business profile you can put information into that you want to. You don't want to leave anything blank on your Google business profile. So when you go in and you edit your Google business profile, you want to fill everything out that you possibly can. Obviously, don't lie or put something in there that's fake, but if there's anything complete at all relevant for your business, you want to fill it out. So having a short name. Obviously, you want your number up there. You'd be surprised how many people don't have their phone number listed on their Google business page. Same with website. Have your website in there. Um, you can have a description. So the description describes your services, any unique selling point that you have. Um, Also, you want to use keywords. You want to use your primary services and the primary locations. But obviously, don't stuff it with keywords. I've seen that where people just in their description they just list all of their services in all of
Mm.
their towns. Like it needs to read like you're talking to a person. But if you can use a keyword, use it. Don't just say we offer landscaping services. Say we offer landscaping services like paper patios, flagstone patio. Like list those things out naturally. Um, you want to have your operating hours in there. Don't do 24/7 unless you are actually 24/7. Um, because what'll happen is if somebody calls you at 10 p.m. and you don't answer your phone, that can be a ding for you. Google's keeping
Okay.
track. Um, it just makes sense, right? If I have a friend who I have recommended to people to use, he doesn't answer his phone. I
Mm.
stopped recommending him
Yep.
because
Okay.
it makes me look bad, right?
Mhm.
So that's how Google is too. If you don't answer your phone all the time and Google's recommending you, then it's going to stop recommending you because it's making Google look bad. You know, Google doesn't want to look bad. So answer your phone.
Good point.
Obviously, we talked about photos. This I need to take off. You used to be able to create your own questions. So you could do like a frequently asked questions section in there.
Mhm.
They recently last month took that out, so you can't do that anymore. Um, you can add services areas in there. You can have a booking button. So what I usually do is put your like contact us page from your website. I'll put that link into the booking link. Um, and then like services, there's this product section. So it's a little bit different. It's more for like if you're selling a product, but what we do is we take your primary services that like your money services, um, and we build out a product page for it. And so all it is, it's a picture, it's the service and the location, and then it's a longer description, longer than what your service descriptions
Mm,
were, and then you can actually put a link to your website page for that service. So it's just another connection back to your website. Um, I hardly ever see anyone who has that filled out.
hmm,
So that's a key piece that you want to have filled out. Um, then you can add, if you didn't know this, I think 2 years ago, 3 years ago, they added this. You can actually connect your social. You can connect your Facebook and Instagram and YouTube channels to your Google Business page now. So you can give that Google that information. There's like a list of like 12 different social profiles you can list on Google. So you want to have all those. Um, and then again, anything else in that Google Business profile that is at all relevant, you want to have filled out. Um, so there's sections in there like, are you wheelchair accessible?
mhm,
Are you veteran owned? Are you women owned? Are you LGBTQ friendly? Like anything that's relevant to your business, you want to have in there because if Google is providing it, then you want to use it. If it's not relevant, leave it out. It's not a big deal.
mhm,
Um, we talked about reviews, how important they are. Just as important as getting them is responding to them. And it can just be something simple. Hey, Mrs. Jones, we had such a great time working on your backyard project in this area, right? Use the service and the area in your response. Um, Hope you enjoy. Like that's it. Just something simple. It shows other people who are coming to who are landing on your Google Business page that you care, right? You're saying thank you for the review. It's also telling Google that you care as well, right? And so you're also telling Google that I'm active. I'm
yeah,
actually managing this thing well, and I'm still in business and I still care. And so it's one of those signals that Google's also going to use. Like none of these things by themselves are going to really move the needle in and of themselves, but all of it together will help move the needle. There's no more, like I said earlier, there's no more shortcuts to this. You just kind of need to do everything. But I've had
yeah.
people ask me, like, well, is that really important, Nick? Like, do I really have to do that?
Mhm,
It's like, well, in and of itself, no. But it, along with everything else, yes.
hmm.
Right? Just do it.
So when it comes to reviews, Nick, when we get really good reviews, of course we want to respond to them. But what do we do when we get bad reviews? How does that impact Google? How do we handle that from your perspective?
So, what I tell my clients, if they get a bad review, none of my clients get bad reviews.
Of
But
course
if
not.
they
Of course
were,
not. But hypothetically,
uh, hypothetically, if they were to, I got a bad review once, and here's how I handled it with my landscape business. Don't respond. Reach out to the client and try to fix it, right? But we all know there are clients out there that no matter what you do, they will never be happy, right?
mhm,
So those people, after you've tried to fix it, right? And they're just that person, that's who my person was. It was somebody that they didn't give me a negative review until after I finally had to kind of just like put my foot down and be like, Mrs. Smith, we've done everything that you have asked us to do. And now we feel like you're trying to take advantage of the situation and we just can't do this anymore. And
yeah.
so we've gone above and beyond and there's nothing more that we can do. Well, then she went and left us a negative review. And so then we responded with the whole story on how it all went down. Um, but in a very professional way. We didn't throw any shade on the client. We just wrote the facts. Here's what happened. Here's how we responded. Here's how you responded. Here's how we responded. We just laid the facts out there. And then when people read that, they can make their own decisions about how crazy or not crazy the
Mhm,
negative review was, right? I think we've all seen the crazy reviews on like a restaurant, how this waiter, whatever. Like people know when it's someone crazy leaving the review or someone who has a legitimate concern for the business, right?
yeah, for sure.
And so so let your response, let the facts do the talking, right?
Yeah.
Don't don't throw any shade on the client. Try to leave any emotion out of your response to that negative review.
Hmm.
Just lay the facts out there and let it be. And then if you're getting more reviews, like you should be, consistent reviews, that negative review will get buried eventually.
Yeah.
But I will say, like, I don't care about the 5.0 rating. It I look for the bad reviews because I want to see what the business said,
Yes.
because that response tells me so much more about the
Yep.
business than any of those good reviews ever will.
Amen. Yep. That's what I tell students all the time when they're like, I got a bad review. What am I going to do with this bad review? I'm like, this is your opportunity to shine, my man. I'm like,
Yeah.
show them the true side of you. If you go in there like
Yep.
people are going to expect, you get a bad review, and all of a sudden the contractor goes back, you stupid F and blah, blah, blah. We did everything, and you did this, and you did that, and you're an asshole, and blah, 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 right? And guess what? The next, Mrs. Smith is back looking for some more work, and she looks through this new website, and she sees this contractor just tearing this other woman apart because of
Yep.
something that went wrong in the project. They're gonna be like, yo, there's no way I'm working with that person, right? So
Yep.
you have the opportunity here, listeners, to really show up and show empathy, and then state the facts, and then offer a resolution. And if they don't take you up on it, that's on them. But you get a chance to show who you truly are, your true colors here. Please make them
Yep.
shine, or you're going to pay for that later. Even if you have to smile through your teeth at times, you got to do that, because eventually in a month, 2 months, 6 months from now, you'll forget about this whole thing, and you're still going to need more work. So
Yeah.
treat people with respect. It
Yep.
goes a long way. Answer those reviews. At least a thank you. That was great working with you, Mrs. Jones. Or I'm sorry you feel that way. We're more than open to trying to fix this with you. How about a phone call tomorrow or whatever, right? Show them that you're human. That's all you got to do.
Yep. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Love it.
Yeah, so, if like I said, we always tell people, reach out to the client first, do the best that you can to make them happy. Um, and then if you can't make them happy, then like uh, your response is, again, just give the facts, lay the facts out, let people know that you reached out to the client and you tried to
Mm.
make them happy, right? Just lay the facts out there. And if somebody reads that person's review and they see your very professional response and they still don't want to work with you, it's probably because they're like that client and you don't want to happen anyways.
And that is a win. That is a that is query qualification really well. You don't have to take the phone call for that one.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I love it.
Exactly. So don't be afraid of negative reviews. And in
That's
and in
right.
fact,
That's right.
it's funny to say, getting one is a great opportunity for you.
It sure is.
So don't go searching for them, but when you get one, because we all will,
Lean into it.
lean into it. Yep. Yeah. So they used to have messaging features. They don't have that anymore, although you can text now. So I think they're bringing that back actually. Here's a problem with what we do. Everything's changing so fast,
Mm.
especially with AI now. It's really hard to keep up.
Yep.
Um, but especially, yeah. So you can do that. Again, at the end of the day, whatever's in there, make sure it's filled out.
Mhm.
Um, and if you see something that I haven't talked about here today, reach out to me and I'm more than happy to walk you through it.
Perfect.
We talked about responses. Again, add add images monthly. And then there's also a post. You can create like a post. Um, and so all we do there is we just put a picture of one of your projects. And it's like a little mini blog post, and then we can link to your website. And so it's just another way to stay active. It's another way to feed Google more information about what it is that you do, and where you do it. So in those little posts, we're always picking a service that we're going to talk about, and then always talking about the location that we are targeting, the cities that we are targeting. Um, you can post like updates, like if if you're doing like a spring cleanup special or something like that, that would be a great place for that. Will people really see it? Probably not, to be honest. Most people might not actually scroll down that far and actually see it when they click. But it makes when people land on your Google Business page, it makes you look better because you have more stuff,
Mm,
right? It's just more filled out than your competitor. And so people like to see that. Google wants to see it. And so just do it. And essentially, that's kind of pretty much the walkthrough on how to optimize your Google Business page. Um,
love it.
yeah.
Excellent, man. No, that sounds awesome. And you don't think much about Google Business Page. It's not my website. It's not that. But again, if most of the searches that people are looking for things, possibly your services, you've got to be where the people are, not where you want to be. You might want to be on social, making fun reels and TikToks, this and that kind of thing. But where are your customers? Where
Yeah.
are they searching? The people that are actually writing the checks, not the ones that are giving you a thumbs up on a goofy video, right? So I'm not saying videos are good or bad. I'm just saying in general, you got to be where your customers are. So you need to do that research, figure out what they're typing in, what are they looking for, what are you awesome at that you can really rank high for. You don't want to rank if you don't do fences. You don't want your website or your Google Business Profile to be all about fences, and you're like, great. I don't know why we're ranking for fences when you don't do them. So it's really important to know who you are, what you do, and then what you want to rank for, and then go to town getting it done. And I look at this as like investing money, right? You're not going to be a millionaire overnight when you start investing. Typically, most take years and years of work. And SEO and Google Business Profile and website, this is a process. This is an investment process, which then yields fruit in the future. It's like planting a little tree. And over time, it grows and grows and grows, and you got to nurture it, and it grows and nurture it and prune it, and pretty soon you've got fruit. And that's how we have to look at this stuff, guys. It's not just like, hey, I'm going to go give Nick or somebody like him, $1,000 a month, and I can disappear and everything's going to be perfect. It's like, this is a process. It's designed to be an investment. Look at it as an investment, not just financially, but for your business in general. And you'll be happy in a couple of years when you put all that time in.
Yeah. And I have a friend who he does some pretty high end stuff for very high end people, like $500,000 backyards for people
Mm,
that own businesses and sports teams that we all know. And he asked me, he's like, "Do you think I should do this?" And I was like, "No, those people aren't going to Google.
mm,
They're not going to type Google like that upper echelon of clientele is not going to go to Google look for a landscaper, right?
mm,
They're going to ask their accountant or their lawyer or their
mm,
realtor or another person in their network, another sports team owner or another business's owner. Like, so I told him, I was like, honestly, dude, I think have a site, make it look good, but you don't need to pay me. You need to go boots on the ground and start figuring out where these people hang out, take them out to dinner
mm.
and have that be your priority.
Yeah. And
Um,
you
yeah,
mentioned earlier about this not being the only thing to invest in, right? So
mhm,
to your point, I think every listener out there should be boots on the ground, figuring out how do they network
yeah,
with trade partners, people that are building houses or pools or whatever it might be, some
mhm,
ancillary or next to adjacent type industry, electricians, plumbers, roofers, whatever, people that
yeah,
run into people that are doing additions, anybody that's doing something adjacent to the type of work you're doing, because there's always that back and forth, right? So that's the building of that's when you're building relationships like that, those are valuable. That website, Google profile, all these things are opportunities, if you will, almost pipes coming into your house that's feeding fuel into your
yeah,
business, right? So you don't necessarily want to just rely on one pipe coming in, and maybe one freezes. You're going to need some other pipes, right? So think of it as multiple income streams, but in this case, lead streams into the
yeah,
property. So in case one or the world changes, you have that diversity.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
I love it. Sounds good, man. Anything else about Google profile that you want to share?
As far as this is Google profile is step one, and how it is all filled out. We talked about your categories and your services and how the services are. Now we want your website to be organized in such a way that it mimics that. And so that will be, I think, the next one that we talk about. But just so everyone in this one who's listening, there's a part two where we're going to compare how we set up your Google business page with then how your website is supposed to be set up. And it makes it the Google business page really makes it very simple. And so I'm sure you'll have a link for the next one. here.
Well, you know what? I love shooting with other
Yeah.
podcasters because Nick's got his own podcast now, and it's great because he knows how to end out a conversation. I'm like, he just did my job for me. This is
Yeah.
amazing. I'm just sitting back. I'm like, go ahead, Nick, take over. This is good.
Well, everybody, thank you for listening to the Sales Made Simple podcast.
Yeah. So, if people want to reach out to you based on what you told them today, before we get into the website side, what's the best way to reach out to you?
Facebook, Nicholas Conley on Facebook. I'm pretty active on there. Also Instagram, or you can just go to tectongrowth.com and fill out our contact form and just say, hey, I heard you on Joshua's podcast. I need some help.
Awesome. I appreciate it. Listeners, you're crazy not to take him up, and even just to have him take a look. The guy's got a big heart. He'll take a look and see what's going on and give you some
Yep.
pointers. Maybe you do something yourself. Maybe you have him do it, but you don't want to be the the last guy to find out that you're 20 years behind.
Yep. You can schedule a free strategy call on the website. I give those left and right there, and the feedback I get is highly valuable. I get feedback from guys who have talked to dozens of agencies, and those strategy calls are highly valuable for them. And I am happy to give them. I love just talking shop. So
Awesome.
don't be scared. Reach out.
Well, I appreciate you, brother. And I look forward to our next episode here. Where we're going to dive into websites. And Nick's going to help us really know how to set up our websites, because believe it or not, Google actually sees websites different than we do. We might want a big old website full of pretty pictures and pretty words, but if Google can't read it or can't find it or don't know where to put it, you're going to be the best kept secret. So guys, see you next episode.
Thanks, Josh.